Reading the headlines, you may think that the job market is cooling, but our data actually shows that there's something different going on under the surface. Because while hiring slowed overall, a few sectors are actually heating up. Transportation, healthcare, and manufacturing saw some pretty decent increases in job openings to close out the year. And that is just the start of what we uncovered in this month's iCIMS Workforce Report. In December, our data shows that job openings actually rose 6% month over month and 8% year over year. Now, that's a sharp contrast to the typical holiday slowdown that we have seen in years past. Some sectors stood out, as mentioned before, including transportation, which jumped to 12% year over year. Healthcare rose 8%, and manufacturing saw a steady 2% lift. This suggests that there are some industries who are entering 2026 with some confidence, even as everything else remains cautious. Now, applications are up, but the bar is higher. They were up 7% year over year, but that doesn't mean that candidates are flooding every opening. The data suggests something more nuanced. Job seekers are applying, but they're being highly selective. And this means that candidate experience still matters, especially if you want the top talent in the market. Candidates are going to be looking for signs of stability, strong employer brands, and roles that feel future proof, while at the same time, internal applications are also on the rise. We find that whenever external conditions feel a little dicey, employees tend to look inward first, betting on their current employer to offer them their next opportunity. So, as you can see from the graph, applications internally rose 8%, but hiring fell 1% year over year in December. Now, that gap tells a pretty interesting story. Employees want to move internally, but organizations are still being incredibly selective about those internal moves. It reflects a very cautious approach to promotions and transfers, and it also aligns with this media hype that we have heard around job hugging or staying in place because of all the uncertainty in the market. This could also signal that the job openings have qualifications that maybe the organization's internal population doesn't have. Now, while the data doesn't specifically point to that, it is a question to be considered. In 2026, as companies pull back from full time hiring, they may begin to look inward and do more with the teams that they already have. And employees are responding, we're ready. In this report, we also wanted to examine what's going on in the job market generationally. And we can see that applicants under 25 actually still represent the largest share of the labor market, holding strong at 40%, but it's down from 44% last year. One trend that I'm going to be watching in 2026 is keeping an eye on the data to really answer the question, is the job market for early career talent cooling? As we look at some of the other generations, including mid and later career applicants, their share of the market remains stable, and the pace of growth among younger job seekers has slowed, especially outside of tech and healthcare. Again, this is a shift that I'm going to keep an eye on in 2026. And looking at the data, if I had to give it a theme, I would say that candidates are sheltering but not stagnant in their job search. On the surface, workers seem pretty secure. When we polled them, 58% say that they're not worried about layoffs this year, which is the same as last year. But nearly a third say that changing jobs now feels a little too risky. But beneath that calm is quiet calculation. 45% of the workers surveyed still plan to look for a new role this year, which is up from 42% last year. It's not a wave and it's not a panic. It's just a little bit of a pause in the job seeker market. They're staying put for now, but they're scanning the horizon. And that means that any kind of job changes in 2026, they're not going to be driven by urgency, but by clarity. And what they're going to look for is a clearer career path, stronger opportunities, and most importantly, a better fit. We also wanted to know what's going on in the minds of workers whenever it comes to AI. And we found that nearly half of the workers, roughly 47%, see it as a top threat to job security this year. Gen Z is actually the most concerned, but confidence is holding steady across the workforce. 56% believe that they have skills that AI cannot replicate, while 48% say that AI is a tool, not a replacement. And only 15% say that AI can fully take over any part of their work. This tells us that the narrative around AI matters. Workers want to feel supported and augmented, not potentially displaced. And we added a bonus in this month's report. We surveyed our executive team at iCIMS as well as some industry analysts for their top predictions for 2026. And we've also included some of those in this month's report. But make sure that you follow us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and subscribe to our LinkedIn newsletter because we're going to be sharing all of their predictions over the coming weeks. There's the data. Now it's time to ask, what do we do with it? Despite the slowdown, there is some movement. Employees are active, both internally for opportunities and also looking externally. They're going to be watching how you show up and how you support their growth, and most importantly, how you're talking about AI. If you want to compete in 2026, here's where I suggest that you start. First, take another look at internal mobility. This is a great source of talent if you're looking to trim your time to fill while increasing your employee engagement. Next, I would suggest looking at your candidate experience and making it your strongest asset. This is especially true for very selective, high performing top talent in the market. You want to make sure that you catch their eye. This is not the time to throw candidate experience out based on the assumption that the market is flooded with candidates. If you want top talent, you're going to have to make it count. And most of all, treat 2026 like a year in motion, not a year on pause. This year will continue to test the C-suite and recruiting teams who are in the race for the market's top talent. We'll be diving deeper into some of these trends in February when we'll be joined by Korn Ferry for a live conversation on what's next in the workforce strategy and what to expect in 2026. Thank you for watching the video. And if you're interested in getting your free January workforce report, make sure that you go here and scan the code and download your free copy. I am Trent Cotton, Head of Talent Insights at iCIMS, and I will see you next month.